Mr. Dean, dear all, thank you so much for this great honor to be here with you this morning in a very special occasion for us, the state visit to President Obama, and also the last state dinner of President Obama and First Lady. For us, yesterday was a great emotion for Agnès and myself, but I think this was a great emotion for a lot of people who think about the great importance of the presidency of Barack Obama, 44th President of the United States. It's a great honor and personal pleasure for me to be here today in one of the most prestigious academic institutions in the world. The Johns Hopkins University is the place where brilliant minds have been cultivated and where every day curiosity, intuition, dreams, and commitment are in the bold experimentations, projects, and research to contribute to the progress of humanity. Curiosity is a word come from Latin expression, cur. Give the question about why. Cur means perché in Italian language, in why in English language. And this, I think, is really a must today to push and to stress, to underline the importance of curiosity as a character of new generation. Every day you show us that the change is possible, the change is necessary. And the new world is possible, different, and I hope better. I will come back about this point, about the future and the expectations for the future. In my official trips abroad, I have always tried to insert a visit to university, from Sorbonne to Harvard to Georgetown, in this city, in the universities of Buenos Aires, Nairobi, Santiago del Chile, Mexico City, Shanghai, because I think university is the real place of the future for a city. Each time the discussion with the students, researchers, and teachers are reinforced by belief that universities today are not only, as the Latin word universitas tells us, the heart of universal knowledge. University today are also the place where we build the future of our generation and where culture and values shared through knowledge can defeat our fears towards tomorrow. This is the problem, fear. If you think about future, a lot of people in the past thinking the positive approach of future. But if you think about the future today, a lot of new young people think, oh, the future is a problem, is a threat. I think this is the great chance to change deeply the political approach. There is another important reason that makes me particularly proud to be here today. More than 60 years ago, Johns Hopkins has chosen one of Italy's most beautiful and historical cities. Not Florence, but this is not in the text, obviously. The city of Bologna, as the seat of its School of Advanced International Studies. Bologna is one of the most ancient university in the West world, and indeed the city is called La Dotta, the wise city, the erudite city. Today, this successful cooperation sees Italy and the United States, Mr. Dean, proudly sharing a top-level cultural projects based on ideals and values that have made our countries great and which represent our biggest common heritage. I think this is a great asset in the cooperation between Italy and the United States. Dear students, dear professors, the word we have today and we receive from our fathers and the grandfathers has been radically changing in the last few decades. I come from Afro-American Museum, and you can understand how many big is the revolution in the last period. I remember when the first time I met President Obama in White House. Not the first meeting, but the first meeting in White House 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago. And in the plane, I watched the film, the movie Selma, and I arrive, and the President of the United States, the 44th President, wait me, Barack Obama. And so I told him, I remember, I think this is a period of history in which history do extra time of work, of job. Because if you think about the radical change of this part of the history, you can understand how bigger is the radical and deeply transformation of our society. The era of growing prosperity in which the Western world has been living for about half a century since the end of World War II has started to fade. New challenges have been emerging, both in the domestic and international domain. Global governance has become increasingly complex. The fundamental universal values and principles upon which peace, security, and prosperity have been ensured for decades are challenged today. Cultural relativism seems to prevail with its nationalism, protectionism, isolationism, and I think this is a time in which a lot of political leaders choose the fear and the hate as the key of electoral campaign in a lot of countries around the world. The message is not the hope for the generation. The message becomes the fear, the verbal violence, the lack of respect. This is the field of populism around the world. And this is very dangerous for me, because in this field we risk to transform the identity of democracy. We risk to lose the real importance of democracy. So, the fear of the other, fear of the lack of employment, fear of tomorrow, from outside and from inside. You can think about the discussion about migration in EU in this moment. This fear became, in the end, fear of the future, and block the expectations of the new generations. Sometimes it can look like adverse fortune might prevail, but as the great political thinker Machiavelli said, I use Machiavelli because I think it's a great political thinker with a lot of consequences, negative, but a lot of good and interesting discussion about it. As the great political thinker Machiavelli said, fortune can be compared to a river that floods, destroying everything in its way. But it shows her power only where a value has not prepared to resist her. And she turns her forces where she knows the barriers and defenders have not been raised to constrain her. Okay, there is the destiny, there is the fortune, but there is the possibility for the men and the women of today to create an alternative. It is not true the message of there is not alternative in the 20 years ago, the political debate offered to everyone. There is not political alternative. Everything is the same. No. I'm absolutely sure if the people is in condition to try to give an alternative, to try to make effort, this is a great opportunity for world. Quisque faber fortune sue, Latin expression. But against this very difficult time, I think globalization and digital revolution have been the most powerful drivers of change in most countries. Today we live in an overall wealthier world. Hundreds of millions of people can benefit from better education, higher standard of life, longer life expectancy. If you think about it, You can imagine in the last 15 years, 20 years, 1 billion of people get out from poverty. It's incredible as a number, but it's not enough, obviously. A few months ago, I read with great attention an excellent article published by The Atlantic. Its title was "The Secret Shame of the Middle Class" by Neil Gabler, and contained a very good description of the discomfort of the USA middle class. That article could have been published in an other Western country without any major change. Because 1 billion of people get out or exit from the poverty, but at the same time the middle class risk to fail out in the fear. We are not talking about the decline of purchasing power or the downgrading of social services. At last, not only. What the Atlantic pointed at was the progressive yet fast marginalization of the middle class in the economic, social and political stage in the globalized world. Let me be very frank with you. I tried, during a public initiative in Italy, to offer a very good example to the young generations. The good example was Airbnb, you know, the biggest hotel around the world in this moment. The founder of Airbnb, 10 years ago, was without employee. And in San Francisco, for a reason of money, tried to offer a part of room to a friend. And from this little experience, in 10 years, thanks to the incredible revolution of digitalization, now this company is Airbnb. When I present that to the students in a debate in Italy, a lot of them told me, okay, for one man, one woman, a boy, a girl, for one who achieved the success, the digitalization and the globalization cut off a lot of people from the jobs market. So what is the good feeling of the future if we risk more than we can achieve? It's a good question. But I think, really, the middle class today is the backbone of our democracies and the most effective propeller of innovation, progress and growth. We have to give a message of involve to these citizens. And I think the real challenge today is create opportunities to combine together the opportunities of the future with the sure parachute for the middle class and for the middle generation. Because if we don't achieve this result, the risk is grow up of populism. Mr. Dean, I'm really sorry for that, but I have a different idea from my colleagues of European countries about the rise of populists. Yes, there is the fear for the terrorism. Okay, yes. It's a very difficult time, the time in which a young girl or a young boy risks death in a theater, in a museum, in a restaurant. Do you remember Bataclan in Paris, Bardo in Tunisia, a bar in Dhaka? The terrorists try to destroy the day-by-day life. It's very strong and negative strategy. Give the death, or in alternative, force the life in a sentiment of preoccupation, close in the borders, close in the walls, close in the houses. But I think this is not the first problem, the first problem to solve for fight against populism. Yes, we have to fight against terrorism with a different strategy. Surely, with a great alliance, international alliance, and this is a period in which we try to give freedom in Mosul. This is the period in which we try to destroy Daesh around the world. But personally, I think it's not only the military answer, the solution. We need a different strategy. And for this reason, Italian law, Italian budget law, last year for the first time, explained a very strong concept. For every euro invested in security, in army, in military answer, we have an euro invested in education, in school, in culture, in theater. When the General Secretary of NATO told me, we are really worried for the possible presence of terrorists inside the migration people, my answer was, okay, my dear friend, but the real risk for terrorism is not in the islands of Italy, of Greece, or in the other places. The real risk for terrorism is in our suburbs, in our banlieue, in our cities. The killer of Daesh came from London, because Jihad Dijon was killed by USA in November 2015. The killer of Bataclan or Brussels attacks came from banlieue of Paris or Brussels. So we need a strong reaction in military way, but we need at the same time, maybe first of all, a very strong reaction in the places of life day by day. This is the answer for terrorism. But the populism is not caused by the risk of terrorism. My opinion, Mr. Dean, is the populism grew up particularly in a moment of crisis of economic assets of Europe. In other ways, for me, in France, in this moment, the risk is more the economic lack of growth than in a security impact for terrorists. This is my view. And this is my view in the debate with my colleagues of European institutions. Not easy debate. Because I fight day by day, every day, to give a message of difference. The message of difference is we can invest in a strategy of growth, not only in austerity. We can invest in an idea of innovation, research, digitalization, and not only an idea of technocrats and bureaucrats approach. I think this is the Europe we want. This is the Europe we need. And this is the Europe who can fight against populists. Because if we continue with an approach without a strategy of growth, will be clear the victory of populists. Populists play the match about fear. We play the match about purpose. Populists play the match about the words of verbal violence. We have a reaction focused on the discussions. So this is the difference. I think for this reason we need a very quickly action. Defeat fear with hope is possible only in a different way. We have to bring the change word. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, I'm really proud to be, because in the next hours I will be in Arlington to conclude the state visit to pay the tribute to USA heroes and USA former President John Kennedy. But John Fitzgerald Kennedy wrote, "Change is the law of life, and those who look only the past or the present are certain to miss the future." My dear students, my dear researchers, my dear professors, I think this is the great chance for the political debate today. Really, we think possible to continue to image a debate around the world. I cannot speak about Las Vegas tonight, obviously, because it's not correct, not diplomatic. But around the world, every day we have a lot of examples of people who think political life is only the hate against other. We come back to an idea of political life in which my dream is present a project for my people. Involve the project, involve the people in the project. And then change if this is not good, but in the respect each other, not in the violence each other. And attention, please. The role of social media in politics, I imagine you study also that. It's incredible in this moment. When Italian Parliament tried to elect the new President of the Republic in 2015 after a problem in 2013 with the re-election of President Napolitano, forced to maintain his charge only for the lack of capacity of Italian members of parliament to choose an alternative. When I spoke with my members of parliament of my party, I gave them only one recommendation: please turn off Twitter. Why? Because if you think in the representation of social media, I used a lot social media. My wife told me too much. But if you use the social media as the representation of the real life, we accept a terrible strategy of the people who create day by day a lot of fakes and trolls with the strategy, and at the same time we think it's impossible to accept the dialogue and the debate. So, I won the primaries in Florence thanks to Facebook. Really. I joke about it with a lot of my friends who hate Facebook more than the past thanks to this incredible revelation. But I won the primaries for that. I used a lot, every type of social media. But attention, there is in a lot of countries a strategy to use social media to cancel, to cut off every possibility, opportunity of dialogue. So it's not that the life we have to use in a very innovative way, particularly big data are crucial in the construction of electoral campaign, but I think the real life is not that. And for this reason, I think in front of the necessity of change of today, we think this is a momentum, particularly for Europe, to give an answer. And I go to conclude exactly with a consideration about Europe and about USA. First, European Union was shocked by Brexit, but the shock is finished very soon. Because I propose to other leaders, please, after the decision of UK to leave, Please, we have to build a different idea of Europe, to create a debate, to involve the public stakeholders to discuss about the future of Europe, to organize a strategy for the next generations. We can think a lot, we can do a lot of things about Europe. Oh, yes, Matteo, yes, very good, interesting. After 3 months, we come back for day one. And the discussion is when UK government will use the Article 50 to exit from EU. It's important, it's really important. But this is not the point. It's not the point for Europe. It's the point for UK, not for Europe. For UK, it's important to understand who is the future. What is the future of this incredible institution? If you think Europe is the place created by a generation of dreamers who gave us 70 years of peace and prosperity. But now, what is now the future of Europe? In this moment, I hope, next 10 minutes. In the next 10 minutes, the sonda Schiaparelli, the mission ExoMars, will be the first European mission to arrive on Mars. Now, in this moment, a mission led by Italian government, 40% of money, 20% of Germany, or UK, I don't remember. UK, France, and Germany together more or less the same of Italian alone, but I'm really happy for that. No problem. No, please, it's the truth. It's not. It's the truth. And I'm really happy for that because it's the symbol of a vision for the future. In 2020, 2021, we will verify if in Mars we will have the life before the American touristic trip in 2030. So, this is the symbol, one little symbol. Erasmus is a different symbol. Broadband and gigabit society is one older symbol. Have the Europe I imagine for the future. But this Europe today, the Europe who arrived on Mars, is not able to face in front of an incredible crisis of migration in which every meeting, every council, I received a lot of congratulations for the Italian strategy, but nobody opened the doors. They opened the mouth, but not the doors. So, where is the problem? It's impossible to arrive on Mars and don't enter in the suburbs. It's impossible to discuss about gigabit society, interconnection and broadband nets and not share the migration crisis, let alone a country for the fear of the people, or of the fear of the difference. For this reason, I don't discuss with you now about the migration compact and all the strategies of my country, but I think this is one very important thing. And the last is about the United States. Transatlantic relation is a priority for us. It's in a framework of friendship, of solidarity, of respect. It's clear today, with the new important role of Southeast around the world, the real challenge for the transatlantic relation is work together in the next months with more energy, with more dynamism. For this reason, we will host G7 next year in Sicily, in May 2017, in a very gorgeous place called Taormina. in front of theater, in front of Etna, in front of sea. I think we will discuss about these incredible necessities for the future of the world. But will be strong Europe only if we'll be able to make choice focused on the word change. If Europe remain in this situation, this Europe is less powerful than the other institutions and countries. So I think you students, your professors, your teachers have a great responsibility. I look at your eyes and I imagine the surprise. The responsibility is on the side of the leaders, of the head of state and government. No, not only. I think this is a time in which we need a cultural, academic, researchers debate. We need the people who study, who make research, help us to surpass the politics of 140 characters, to surpass the logics of slogan against slogan, to enter inside the great dossier and help us to give a possibility and a hope. Yesterday, during the official intervention, I told to President Obama, history, it's a great thing. We, as Italians, we love history, and we consider history magistra vitae, teacher of life. But at the same time, our stakeholders are not the great personalities of the history. My stakeholder is not Leonardo, Galileo, Michelangelo. My stakeholders are the children. And for this reason, your role is important as our role. We need you. We need your consideration. We need your studies. You need your passions. Because if you leave in the next years the political debate only to politicians, we lost an occasion. So please involve in the debate, help us to understand what is important for the future of generations, and consider stakeholders, not the great personalities of the history, but our children, because in the eyes of our children there is the possibility to change this incredible and beautiful world. Thank you so much for your invitation. Thank you so much to everyone.
I think they say you're out of time, so I'm just going to
I'm so sorry. They told me you speak a lot, too much. I'm so sorry.
Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much for that very powerful vision that allows us all to see past the problems of today and to build towards a much better future for tomorrow. It's truly a very appropriate and strong message to our young students who will be tomorrow's leaders in Europe and the United States and around the world. Thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good to see you. Good to see you.
I'm so sorry for the